Okay, we're going to start here first. And give me a second, I'm going to get my headphones in. Okay, we're going to start here first. In this case, in Broward County, Florida. And I want you to pay close attention to the names that the state attorney general in Florida went after for their corruption and their moving company scam. Why? Is because they went from Florida now to laundering money for the cartel and the corruption that's allowing missing and killed cases back to this drug cartel to stay cold and only go after certain suspects, not the, remember, others that are involved. Nicholas McClelland's own words. Well, here is why. His friends, the operation that's going around in Carroll County, where they are learning and how they are getting taught this, is what's going on in Kokomo and Howard County. State Attorney General files complaint in Broward County to shut down moving scam in 2022. Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody filed a complaint on Thursday in Broward County to go after a group that investigators reported received more than 400 customers who needed moving services. The group of defendants in Broward County Civil Court includes a list of 10 companies and 3 men. Charles Gordon Adams, Daniel J. Metz, and Rudolph Logan Rice. The defendants promised top quality moving services, but instead provided shoddy work, higher than advertised prices, and loads of headaches for people simply trying to relocate, Moody said in a statement. Investigators found the company hired 3 parties to complete the moving services, failed to provide refunds as promised, and constantly changed names to dodge customers' bad reviews, according to a 65-page complaint. We are taking legal action to shut this moving scam and recover funds and hundreds of customers harmed by this company's deceptive practices, Moody said. The companies include 2 in Delaware, Southeast Holding, and Executive Van Lines, and the other 8 are registered in Florida: Gold Standard Moving and Storage, United American Moving, Razor Van Lines, U.S. Pro Moving and Logistics, National American Van Lines, Imperial Moving Group, doing business in Simple Path Moving, Spartan Moving and Storage, and Southeast Holdings. State records show United American Moving was registered to Abrams in Pompano Beach. Razor Van Lines was associated with Abrams and Metz in Coral Springs. U.S. Moving and Logistics was associated with Southeast Holding of Delaware. Spartan Moving Storage was associated with Metz. Moody is asking anyone who has been a victim of this movie scam to call the Florida Attorney General's office at 1-866-966-7266. If only they knew. It gets worse. We're going to go into that now. And here's kind of some of what they've got right here. And I want you guys to keep all this in mind. You're about to see a whole lot more of it, including the Howard County prosecutor, Mark McCann. This is why so much is going against and away from the cartel ring and individuals like Gabe Ellis, his little Kokomo crew and drug ring that went and did Flora, Delphi, Karena. Their tentacles show around. The only two that survived out of the Logan Sport fires were best friends of him and his ring. Over 19 children's deaths, missing and killed. I have proven over 70 cases missing and killed. Often, many of these sit cold cases. When it goes back and ties and connections are shown back to this drug ring. This next one I'm going to show you is an IMPD officer, Garland Odell Cooper, Southeast Side, Indianapolis, Metro PD, and his own admissions. If they would have acted, and if the agent Michael Curtis, the agent over me, you're about to see a picture, a face to the name. The same time frame, down in Florida. 2 mass shootings, the same agency, FBI, the same branch, the Joint Terrorism Task Force there was forced not once, but twice to come out. We knew intel, we failed to act, we're sorry, it's not going to happen again. Shortly thereafter, another shooting. One took the life of many kids and teachers, and the other was a nightclub shooting that took the lives of multiple adults. We knew intel, we failed to act. Just like Larry Nassar and the Indianapolis FBI refusing to help the victims that were coming and begging to them at Indianapolis FBI headquarters. Begging them to look and act against the child predator that was preying upon them. This is worse than Larry Nassar 2.0. This is a Uvalde and nightclub shooting 3.0. Same time frame. I want you to keep that in mind. The same time frame that the same agency, same branch, we knew intel, we failed to act. So many of you have been asking, why was the Joint Terrorism Task Force and FBI agents already in Delphi, the Sons of Odin and a militia group that was training on Ron Logan's property? Brad Holder, among others, belonged to said group. But I'm not going to talk, and I'm going to let you guys read while I'm going over 78 pages with you and some of these same names and other actors. You're going to see why so much has not made sense, why so many forcefully look past a few, their ties back to the names, the elected officials, like Nicholas McClellan and Brad Holder being Masonic brothers. Remember, they take an oath when they go into the Masons to protect thy brother. And I've seen this done even as judges dismissing a case of theft against them and their wife. Why? Because the thief husband was a former Master Mason and still active lodge member. They protect thy brother. And like I said, I want you to get this burned into your memories. I was only talking about Flora 4, Delphi, and Karena McClurkin. I was only talking to this officer about that drug ring, the names, the ties, the connections, back to cases down in Indianapolis at the time like Jamey Beasley, Mariah Coy, David Kallenberger, I'll get to David's stepbrother, Albert Scott, his connections and ties to family members of Karena McClurkin, but also to the corruption and direct ties to Gabriel Ellis, among others. We'll get to Albert later on, as well as many of these suspects, but this needs to be seen first. Instead of hearing me try to read all this out, there's 78 pages, and I'm going to make sure this is done slow enough where you can read, see whose names are showing up. The same operation in Florida moved, and it's now moving like other corrupt individuals laundering money for this cartel. The more money they get, the more money they push, the more money they clean, the more money they get in their pockets. I want you to keep in mind, Jamey Noel, keep Senator Jim Buck in mind. I didn't have the time, but if you look at the friends list and all the names you're about to see, including the former commissioner, Paul Wyman, the now sitting prosecutor, Mark McCann, pay very close attention to all the names you're about to see, the companies, the same operation you've seen now in Florida, the attorney general there is going against. Well, the RICO investigation on Jamey just got a whole lot bigger. Now, I want you to keep in mind, right after he got busted, the pictures of with who. This is on a talk show. You already know who, Dr. Oz. And I want you to pay close attention. Who is his arm around right there? Governor Eric Holcomb. When it comes to Eric Holcomb, the governor, when it comes to the Kokomo battery plant, see where I'm going? You're about to see that and much more. Notice Nathan White, Tyler Moore, the current sitting mayor. We'll get into him and you'll see where the Nathan White in the recovery center of Kokomo, the reason they're allowing this pandemic to get out of hand, refuse to tackle and hit this ring, the cartel itself, too many are making thousands and millions at times. Remember the name Tyler Dodd. His family's Jeremy Dodd, Jack Dodd, the same Jeremy Dodd Indiana State Police told KPD not to hire. Why? Corruption and falsifying records at Rushville as a town marshal. His corrupt dad, Jack Dodd, elected position, pressured the current mayor, Greg Goodnight, at the time, on what he knew against the city if they didn't hire his son would come out. Same thing Kevin Summers did to the same mayor, Greg Goodnight, to get his son, Colton Summers, on with the city. And I want you to keep in mind, Jeremy Dodd and Jack Dodd, family relations to Uriah Levi and his patched brother with mobile ground shakers. Who Uriah Levi is, you ask? They held more than once individuals captive for ransom and end up murdering, let's say, Beard when she went to pay to get her boyfriend released. Heard that she was going to be trafficked herself, held for ransom herself, so she tried making a run for it, was shot in the back. Keep in mind who his family is. Remember Daniel Metz? What's this? Daniel J. Metz? And look at the very bottom. Mark McCann? Ron Metz? Is it really Ron? Or is it Mr. Metz, the same one that moved his operations from Florida up to Kokomo, Indiana, and laundering money for the cartel there, like so many others? All three names in Florida are now laundering money with the help of so many others that was already doing the same thing. They got busted in Florida, moved their operations to where? Laundering for who? The cartel? Ding, ding, ding. Now you're starting to see why so much is not making sense in the Delphi case, and then how they're doing the exact same, trying to pin only one person, even though they admit that there is others involved. They're only trying to go after Flint Farmer on Karena McClurkin's case 126 days later. So many pockets, the millions they have made, lay on the line. If they go, the cartels looked at that they were involved with over 19 children's deaths, missing and murdered, including baby Amaya Robertson, her mom, her boyfriend, their friends, themselves, go back to in and around the same drug ring. Remember, the IMPD officer, ties and connections are being made. If they acted on them then, her own mother and boyfriend would have been picked up along with the other ones that they're sitting friends. at times with other victims. Jamey Beasley, like I said, and among others. There's some that's been home, like Phoebe Sickles. One of my success stories, I got that woman home. Why? Let's just put it this way here. Sister-in-law goes in and around back to like Devon Evans, missing, found killed. Jamey Beasley, setting friends on her page as well. Yeah. If they acted, Baby and Maya would be home right now, along with so many other victims that needlessly lost their lives. All 70 of these cases, all 19 of these children, I want you to keep in mind, belong to that troubled community. The same troubled community as you're seeing now. Corruption plays a major hand on why so many cases are sitting cold, and what you're now seeing being done to Richard Allen in Delphi. All the corruption that you're seeing firsthand, things going missing, interviews lost, evidence lost. There's a reason they can't afford the others in that cartel ring that's making them thousands and at times millions, even there in Delphi. Keep in mind, there's 2 cartel drug houses active in Delphi. There's a school resource officer. Yes, you heard me right. A school resource officer of both where the Flora and Delphi girls went to school. Their school resource officer goes back friends with ones like Robert Ives, and many of these names you're now seeing in the money laundering they're involved with. The Sycamore Behavioral Health, how Kokomo and others within this ring that's attacking me, trying to use my PTSD, non-psychosis. How do you think individuals got access to know about that? HIPAA violations. Look who's in charge of the behavioral health center, who owns it, who operates it. Remember the Florida issue? And I want you to remember Diego Morales. If you look back, the ones that are friends with Jamey, Noel, look for the name, among others. There's an Indiana State Board of Trustees director at one time, as well sitting on Jamey Noel's friends list. And so many of you have said, oh, he's just showing the social media links to these individuals back to this drug ring. The stalkers on my Facebook page. We'll get to you here shortly. But this needed to drop first. Expose the ones that are helping you hide, run from 19 children's murders. 2 were shot execution style. Javon Blackwell's sons, before the same gun was used on the dad. Same way. Brittany Drake and among others, they all go back to the Kokomo drug ring. Every single defendant in Javon Blackwell, Marion, and his 2 sons' execution and robbery, every single one of those defendants go back to this cartel drug ring. Facts. Galen Rose, her lawsuit, every single one of them, dealing, possession of meth, they all go back to the same cartel drug ring. The same one using her house as a trap house. Facts. And now you see why this cartel relies on businesses like Mike and Becky Patty, MPB appraisals, to appraise and inflate these properties. Pay them off to inflate properties. They use appraisal companies like theirs to inflate properties' wealth on how much they are worth. They bought it this amount. Tack on, oh, no renovations, nothing done. The property still sits as is, but let's make sure it gets inflated and passes on to the assessor. And anybody thinking I'm making up this cartel, this is a Chicago member of the same cartel. Apparently, for me talking and trying to get children justice, I'm about to be what if I keep talking? Next. This is something I did a while back. Whoever you may be, you don't deserve what's hanging between your legs. If anybody's going to aim anywhere, I think it should be to castrate you. And like I said, look up every name on Galen Rowe's lawsuit, which, when she settled that lawsuit, do you realize Jennifer Dean Barnes was a convicted murderer who played a role for only $20 on Willie Smith's murder? But 2 years prior to that, she toured the bridge, did a video with Renee Anthony Charles Greeno, another one that was involved with Delphi. Like I said, look up every name you're seeing here. Remember Colton's interview where they redacted all the names? Look up Willie Smith Jr., 55, murdered during a meetup for sex, Florida, June 2021. And like I said, Derek, Terry, Brad, German, Mike, Becky, Tara, the whole family is friends, along with Anna. Anna admits just got done doing work for Ashley Garth's grandmother. They all know 3 convicted murderers sitting behind bars. But nothing to see here. No red flags. No what the hell. And mind you, all 3 of these are convicted, and 2 of them admitted they killed Nicole Bowen. Why? Because she was going to snitch on the ring. Just like Jeremy Patterson. It wasn't on drugs. It was after Delphi, after Karena, after Flora, after Logansport fires. I got a feeling they were killed because they were going to come forward on everybody that was involved back to this cartel drug ring that cost the lives of multiple kids. It was eating at them. Jeremy Patterson was killed 96 days after a local police leaked back to this drug ring individuals like Alan Tinker, that was involved with Karena McClurkin's case, Curtis Beck, that was a long-time suspect for domestic terrorism with the Joint Terrorism Task Force, FBI, Indianapolis, Michael Curtis. And the last image before I end this video, I'm going to give a face to Michael Curtis, the agent that allowed more than one child's death, more than one adult's death to happen. Let me go as an informant. Why? Because I was trying to save lives. I went to the Department of Justice and I went to Homeland Security, giving my information, his information, telling them his gross disregard, negligence, lies was costing lives. And I was begging for them not to give this information back like they did, but to act, to stop further victims and lives lost. And like I said, here's where she was with guess who. This is Jennifer's post. Guess who? Now I want you to read what I'm showing right now. This is a retired, took early retirement from Kokomo Police Department and took a job as a school resource officer at the girls' school. Which sheriff was this? Was it Toby or was it Howard County? I'd like to ask him. But it's classic blue protecting blue. Corruption covering corruption. And you remember I said the cartel has 2 active drug houses in Delphi? This is from the girls' school resource officer himself. Not my words. I didn't make this up. And he's trying to say he ran for sheriff, but was told he was too clean. But yet this individual sit back with Robert Ives and many of the names that you just seen, and a whole lot more that are as corrupt gets. Jamey Noel, his screw up, what he was doing, I opened a certain individual's eyes. And each and every single one of you, please back me up and call Indiana State Police Detective Jeffrey Herron, Herron, the detective over the RICO investigation of Jamey Noel. I've already done this. I've sent him everything plus what I have, and then more. Then, like I told him on a conversation, I even asked him, this is recorded. I'll share that later. But I asked him, could locals who have contacts and connections and ties and dealings with this cartel ring, could locals force Carter and you, the Indiana State Police, to put blinders on without knowing it and only look at the suspects that they're pressing and pushing towards you? Only who they want. His exact words on this recorded audio was, yes, it's happened before. We don't like it when it happens. We are brought in to assist, and being assistive, all we can do is look at who and where they are pressing and letting us know the information on. If there's information, evidence edited and omitted and not forwarded to us and let us be known, we would not know to look down that direction or towards that direction. So he says. But this goes back to Michael Curtis, the face you're about to see. And there's a lot of corruption in Kokomo. Where? Any political position. This is coming from a retired KPD officer, high ranking, that took early retirement, like he said, to take a school resource officer job in Carroll County. And this is Howard County, by the way. You remember when some little bitch was on the run? You remember I was talking about the crazy part? How Kokomo Police Department and this cartel ring that he was running with, he's still, when I'm talking about the Kokomo crew, the Kokomo cartel drug ring, the ones he was running around with, getting high with, like Jessica Plunkett, among others, Christy Lynn Martin, and he knows the law well, but not well enough. Just wait till the corruption that's over you, protecting you and your buddies, murderous ways, falls. There's no more protection, no more laughing it off. Wait till your prison cell, little bitch. Now, before I show Michael Curtis, I want you guys to take a look at this Bowie knife in Kigan Callis. Kiagancallis. Megan Allen Riddell, not Megan Eberling. Her boyfriend, that she went to the bridge and did what they did. They were parading around with these knives like they were trophies. Look real close on that knife. That isn't just rust. Look how it's formed. And that's not me doing anything with it, but if you look close on that knife, and there's better pictures I'll show. Before I show Michael Curtis, field service agent with the FBI, Indianapolis headquarters, Joint Terrorism Task Force. He was so hell-bent on getting his retirement. He got the year after kicking me as an informant for trying to save lives, where his lies, disregard, and negligence, mishandling of an informant, and intelligence, that leads back to multiple missing killed cases. This is on Karena McClurkin, the ones involved in her case. When you look up Jeff Brack and Kim Thomas Lebanon, look at their friends list. And like I said, I was an active informant with the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. What had them up there was Brad Holder, his militia group, among others, training at Ron Logan's property. He left 24 hours before the girl's case. Did the FBI, while they were doing surveillance on him and his friends, did they catch on the surveillance, by chance, things being brought in, staged, being readied? Makes me wonder. But yes, the investigation that was going on was a militia group. The same militia group that members like Frank Castiello, a former sheriff out of Michigan, he sits on Tony Slocum's friends list, along with other about 24 individuals all sitting. Frank, for 6+ years in my FBI informant files. Why? He had direct involvement and a direct hand in more than one federally armed standoff. That we need to go see a constitutional sheriff on the Bundy standoff that ended up with one being shot and killed. That standoffs. And as you see above in the upper left-hand corner, Josh Everling, Megan's now husband, new baby daddy, his own tampering trying to pry information out of me. At one point, I even showed on my community wall, act like you're a prosecutor. Give me the whole case like they would. The names, the involvement, give me all the details. Why? To save his girlfriend's ass? His fellow dealers at the time? Yeah, he was one of the upper dealers, along with Gabe Ellis, Wayne Nelson, Josh Everling. They were all put in place when the new cartel connection was made in Vegas. The same connections, if you listen to the Wayne Nelson live, he admits that yes, the control, the power a older pedophile, Gabriel Ellis, had over, guess who? Keegan Kline. They sent Keegan Kline with half of his money and the money that they needed to send to Las Vegas when a female, many of them went to school with, married into the cartel over in Las Vegas. It allowed the non-sleep dope. There was a dope going around. It was so low quality that it was putting people to sleep and they'll never wake up, aka sleep dope. So when that marriage happened, that cartel put individuals like Gabriel Ellis, Blaine Nelson, Josh Eberling in control and dealing with that new connection made. But I want you to keep your eye on him and her. I'm still trying to make sense of what this is saying on the bat, but that's another weapon they were parading around and taking pictures of. Not afraid to show illegal firearms. And you're asking who's that? It's Elijah Cook. Look up his history. Now this is Field Service Agent Michael Curtis, now retired, of the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. This is the face that makes me sick. This is the same face that I seen let me go, trying to save lives when his negligence, lies, disregard was costing lives. You've heard me say the name. Now you have a face to the name. This is the face that allowed Flora, Javon Blackwell's 2 sons being killed, Logansport, those children being killed, along with the adults, Delphi. If he acted after Karena and went after the same individuals that went on further with their friends to making each other blood brothers, blood sisters, if he would have acted, so many lives were preventable. Just like when you seen Garland Odell Cooper and IMPD looked before they knew and was told to shut up, don't look there, nothing to see. He even admitted, this is too big. If I was to take this case on, it would cost me the retirement date that I want. This is getting to be too big of a case. Just go see the locals. He was too worried about his retirement. Didn't care about the children's lives and the adults. His negligence, lies, and disregard allowed to happen. This is the face that makes me sick. This is the face that needs to be up on that stand being grilled. So you were in Delphi doing active surveillance? He is one of the active first agents. Of why they were there so fast? Him and his partner. They were already there on an active investigation based off of my intel. Well, guess what, motherfucker? Baffy tells all. He makes me sick. If they would have acted, even Jeremy Patterson, Baby Amia, the 70 cases that I've proven back to this ring so far, 19 of which are children, a lot of these cases wouldn't have happened. Multiple killed children, missing and murdered, would have never happened if he only did his job instead of worrying about retirement. And it's the same FBI. Larry Nassar, victims were running to, begging for them to help, to act. They chose and they refused to do anything. So call me crazy, call me nuts. Like I said, the same FBI, new intel, failed to act. It cost multiple lives in Florida. And the corruption that he knew was going on in Kokomo and the surrounding areas like Carroll, Miami, Lafayette, he knew all about. In his words, it was in the back burner brewing. If they would have acted, this cartel, the RICO investigation started years ago, a lot of lives would still be here. And a lot of lives, missing, murdered, future, could have never happened to begin with. This is the face that allowed children to die